Hey, it's Adam with Tech.AV Club. I've got some longer videos in the works, but I wanted to do the short one real quick because I've been trying to help somebody with a problem on a forum, and it turns out to be a crunchy little problem that's got a great little explanation behind it, and it just turns out to be a fantastic tutorial. So I've kind of tried to recreate the problem myself, and the problem is you're trying to match a frame rate, but one frame rate is a high frame rate and interlaced, and the other frame rate is a low frame rate and progressive scan, and you want them to match. So what I've done is I've rendered out one clip. This is all the project settings are wrong right now, by the way, but I've rendered out one clip at 25 frames per second and another clip at 50 frames per second interlaced, so and we're playing them back in a progressive scan right now, or it's trying to, Vegas is, but these are the two different clips, and we're trying to get them blended, and we need an archive render and a DVD architect ready render. And so that's a very interesting problem. I think it's a problem a lot of people actually run into, and I have certainly ran into before. So we're going to go up here to template, and don't worry about any of this stuff. We're going to rename this one. This is actually a 1920 by 1080p video that he's got, and so that needs to be there. We actually need progressive scan in the footage. So the reason why we're going with progressive instead of interlaced is because even though we have interlaced footage, we're actually trying to get a final product that is progressive scan, not trying to turn the interlaced footage, the progressive footage, into interlaced footage. So that's a very interesting problem. So we actually need to make it a progressive scan, and we need to take this frame right here, and we actually need to turn it into 25 PAL. That's what his frame rate of his DSLR camera is, because we're trying to match the lowest setting. Now here's where it gets interesting. When it comes to the deinterlacing method, we need interpolate fields. That's most likely going to be the best. Blend fields if there's a lot of static shots, but probably not. Or you can do smart adaptive too if you want it to jump in between blending fields and interpolating fields, but that's something that you're going to have to test to make sure that it's actually adapting the way you want it to. But interpolate fields, what it does is it actually takes the scan lines and it smushes them together. It takes two frames and it interpolates them. It puts them back together as a frame in a smart way. So it actually has 50 frames per second to work with. This is super good math here, because if you have 50 frames per second and you're halving it because you're matching up the frames, that turns out to a perfect 25 frames per second progressive, because we're no longer interlaced anymore. For the resample method, I would go with smart resample, so that way Vegas will only resample what it should think it needs to be resampled, which is going to be the interlaced footage. So we are going to call this 25p fix, and I'm going to save this as my template here, and then apply. Now it's actually applying the Vegas settings, and hit OK. The goal is to get footage that looks like it's stitched together properly, and this footage does. So when you render, here's the interesting conundrum is, so perhaps your archive render, there's a lot of ways to do a good archive render. If you're fine with just a good internet archive render, then an MP4 of some sort, but really a Magic's intermediate codec would be a great one, something like this 422 1920 by 1080p 25 frames per second. That would be a great archive render. Also, for DVD architect, you could do a higher res 1080p 25 frames per second render, but you're going to want it to be a progressive HDV. With all of these archive renders, we're trying to get something that is both matching the resolution and matching the current frame rate of the project. So even though there is a higher 1050i frame rate involved, the 25 frames per second is what Vegas is already stitching everything down to, so you don't want to change it. You try to only change things once, and that's going to be the best archive. Now, for DVD Architect, the actual best thing to do is not to let DVD Architect handle it, because then you'll be rendering your footage twice. So if you're going directly to DVD Architect, I have a video about this too, but you need to actually select your DVD Architect settings for what you're looking for. So this one is PAL widescreen video stream, probably this at 25 frames per second. This is probably what you need to render as for your DVD Architect. Since you're using PAL, I'm assuming that PAL would be what your DVD player is expecting to play, because you're probably not from where I'm from. If you're from America or Japan, it needs to be NTSC, but Europe is PAL all the way. So this would be what you need to bring to DVD Architect, so DVD Architect doesn't have to render it again, and that should give you the cleanest settings. So I hope this video helps somebody out. I've got some more detailed, crazier videos on the way, but every now and then a crunchy little topic comes by that's just something so good of a little tutorial that I gotta upload it. So thanks for watching. This is Adam with Tech Dive AV Club. I'll see you next time.